Good afternoon, everyone. So today the topic is on climate change and disaster. I will be making a presentation on critical infrastructure, which is very important during the disaster. Myself, Dr. in Cybersecurity, and Executive Director of Council for Earth Leadership and Sustainability. I will be presenting on climate change and disaster, especially with relevance to critical infrastructure. Climate change and disasters. This is an important topic considering the uh, impact that we are seeing already. There have been globally. And the critical infrastructure is the essential infrastructure for our human existence and how to make them resilient. So here I will be sharing also on the interventions and strategy regarding the critical infrastructure. India ranks third after the US and China in the number of natural disasters in 1900. And India recorded extreme weather events on 241 of the 273 days from January 1 to September 30, 2022 in this year. According to a new report, these include heat waves, cold waves, cyclones, lightning, heavy rainfall, floods, and landslides. So the disasters related to climate change are in various forms. And during the period 1995 to 2020, a total of 1058 climate disasters happened. Again, they are relevant to like floods, cyclones, drought, cold waves, and heat waves. But if you see the human life loss due to climate related disasters, then cyclones account 48% because most of the cities, uh, highly populated cities are located along the coastal areas, and the impacts felt due to cyclones are the area was also in this highly populated areas very high. But again, one more important is heat wave. This is like a silent killer. People during the flood times one can see the water level rising, the damage is happening, and the destruction is physically visible. But heat wave, the person seems to, he might have gone out, he came home, then suddenly there is a sunstroke and a person died, especially old people and the children. It is not visible like the floods. So this is a very, I mean to say, kind of silent killer in the climate change if you see. So 26% is not less. And with the global warming, this number would increase, and then 18% due to floods and 8% due to cold waves. All these are contributing. And here, floods is one of the important considerations in India, and more than 300 floods have been recorded since 1950, killing at least 75,000 people and rendering more than 900 million individuals, include homeless, otherwise affected. So in floods, the loss to property and even to agriculture fields or the infrastructure, it is huge actually. Its predictions, this thing has come down. The human loss has come down, but other losses are huge. So even if you calculate losses due to natural disasters, overall, if you see, then US dollars 3,000 billion between 1998 and 2017. For three-quarters of the damage has been caused by climate-related disasters, and the United States suffering the most, followed by China, Japan, and India. This is the global losses uh, in the report UNISDR 2018 it was presented. And these maps are very much important because if you see the flood frequency, the areas you could see the northern Gangetic Plain, the West Bengal, or Bihar, or even some of the states like Orissa, northeastern states. Even in the desert also, because the drainage system is not well developed in a desert area, so even with little increase in rainfall, like farmer floods once it happened. So these are visible very much in Karnataka, Kerala, Odisha, etc. And again here drought frequency, if you see, uh, here especially Telangana where here now where I am currently in the state, including Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan. So it was very high. But with climate change, recently the trend is different. Last 2 3 years, we have seen that The rainfall has increased. But it doesn't mean that not only it is not a meteorological or hydrological drought alone that we look at. Even if it rains heavily, then if there is loss of crop or increase in okay. So I need to maybe explaining this. Here in cyclone frequency is happens mostly the number of cyclones and intensity is always higher on the east coast because that is due to Coriolis force or the movement of Earth, rotation of Earth. So now most of the cyclones occur in the Bay of Bengal and they travel overland. So if you see very high means this Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Orissa, West Bengal, these areas we have more cyclones. And also there are depressions happening in the Gujarat and Maharashtra, this area, Arabian Sea. From there also some are coming. It is very rare, but they are occurring nowadays. So intensity and the number of cyclones have increased in climate change. And because most of the important cities, highly populated cities are located in the coastal areas, even the death or destruction or loss damages, everything is very high in this area. But if you see the climatological disasters, due to all the factors, uh, say floods, cyclones, or sea level rise, or storm surge, or even heat waves, like that, if you put all the things together, then these states which are in red color, these are highly vulnerable to climatological disasters. They like Maharashtra, Orissa, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Bihar, West Bengal, and even Assam. So these states need to be more prepared and need to be alert, and there are so many plans and actions need to be done in this stage. Yes. In the Asia Pacific region, for example, the number of natural disasters grew from an average of 11 per country during the 1970s to more than 28 in the 2000s. So this zone is highly vulnerable actually, even by area and the number of countries. All this if you see, they are very high. So these impacts are also very high in this zone. And during 1999-2020, 11 out of 36 states and UTs were infected by cyclone. And here if you see which are the most impacted disasters or which are more occurring uh, due to the fact of the flood, 33% are the main cause. Then see heat wave, then cold wave, and drought, and then cyclone. So this is the incidence of the disaster. So here the critical infrastructure resilience cycle. Why this many disaster, otherwise also the critical infrastructure is essential for the human well-being and existence and survival. So I will explain what are the critical infrastructure later, but here in every cycle, if you see resilience cycle, so firstly we have to prevention or preventive mechanism. This is very important in case of resilience. This builds up the resilience. Resilience is not just the physical infrastructure, the community resilience, the social fabric resilience, the biological resilience. I think everything need to cope, even institutional resilience, governance resilience. So many things, even before, after an event, this we have to build up. And then absorption will be there. Then there will be recovery. Then there will be adaptation. So it is a cycle actually. So this is how after every disaster or before disaster preventive mechanism so when it happens and how people would cope and how they are able to recover and how they are doing adaptation. So all this cycle part of the resilience cycle. This graph is very critical because this explains everything, including especially resilience. So here, if you see here on the y-axis, maximum level of resilience to improve what we need to do. Then new level of resilience and original level of resilience. Means here the resilience is low, say from green point to the blue point is very improved. Hence increase the resilience of community, systems, infrastructure like that. But here actually the crisis uh, detection, uh, this is crisis preparedness, detection ability, responsiveness, recoverability, adaptability. So this is in the timeline. So from let us say from A to B is the point in the timeline. Let us say cyclone is coming. From the satellite imagery, one can predict even from 1 week ahead. So crisis preparedness is one area. Then ultimately our satellites, our meteorological data, everything will help in detection ability. The path of the cyclone is determined and the intensity of the cyclone also we will know. Then exactly it will happen. So if you see the curve, the impact will be high in this zone. At that time, we have to be responsive. And again, in the immediately after this event, we see the resilience, even during or immediately. So then absorption limit and absorption boundary, what are they? This also we'll see in the recoverability. Means immediately once the cyclone passes, then these things will come. Then after that, adaptability. Let us say you have water, it's locked, then how you would plan your next construction activity of your house. That is long-term adaptability. Immediately, that's the drinking water you require, then which water source you would use. So that is the immediate adaptability, and food and other things where people would stay. So it's a part of coping, and beyond that adaptation, like that we'll have different steps. So here disruptive event is started here. In end of disruptive event is the start of recovery process, then end of recovery. So like that we have different steps and end of adaptation. So this is a kind of uh, technically we see this is a resilient thing. So here resilience of the critical infrastructure element and performance of critical infrastructure element in this time from the beginning and till the end of an disaster event. So this is how we look at here the critical infrastructure say taken some example like transportation is very critical because the mobility is limited, airports, roads, railways, waterways, like that many different transportation systems included. The pipe is another new form of transportation people are looking at, like tunnel through which we travel. Then another is the power sector. This is again because many things run with this energy and then stronger storms, let us say. Wind is a very big dangerous factor nowadays. Overall, I don't know how the ocean currents are weakened in many ways, but the strength of wind has increased. Maybe tornadoes, typhoon, cyclone, anything. Otherwise, also the wind speeds have increased. So there will be lots of damages with the wind. And this local government strategies to reduce the likelihood and effect of power outages, including hardening distribution system, diversifying production and storage, improving energy efficiency, and emergency planning. Etc. And telecommunications, yes, this is very essential even in the relief of measures or response immediately after a disaster or providing help. All these things, but we have many ways and means. But this, if it gets affected, there will be disruption of many things. But within this framework, there are so many things that are happening. Because communication is not just like earlier the telephone or some kind of, now we have videos, images, text, internet, IT solutions, internet of things, artificial intelligence, big data. So many things are there. So all these things are working now parallelly in every given habitation. And if they get disrupted, so there will be lots of losses. Like in Chennai floods, this loss of communications is a loss to the economy because many software people are working and serving the uh, project abroad. So there was a standstill. And water supply is very critical because drinking water is fundamental. Otherwise, to utility as water to for washing, cleaning, and our own existence. That water, so urban water systems are vulnerable to threats. And dams and reservoirs, there is a breach. So all these things will happen. And wastewater treatment and sanitation systems. So all these, if they get disrupted, and the impact will be health. Health infrastructure is another most important critical infrastructure. I think hospitals are being located everywhere without much planning. Even the private hospitals, even government hospitals. I think government should have a strategy. One is accessibility of these hospitals to the community. That is important. but at the same time, where they are located, how resilient they are. Say, if in a coastal area, if it's prone to frequent cyclones, a particular area, so you cannot have expose this critical infrastructure directly in the path of that cyclone or flood area. The transportation also should be very resilient to access this health infrastructure, or even the people who are already patients existing there. So High Water is one very good movie that came where it shows the real situations how they are fighting. It is in Poland. The flood happened and how in a particular hospital, especially the patient shifting them to higher floors when it is flooded, and how the doctors are taking care. I think it's a very good movie to watch and understand this particular aspect. And here again, for disasters, there are so many uh, things happening. In 1918, International Decade for Natural Disaster Reduction (IDNDR). Uh, then in 1994, Yokohama Strategy and Plans of Action. Then in 1999, ISDR, International Strategy for Disaster Reduction. And all this came up. And with them, the policies and frameworks and the strategies, everything came up. But what is important is Togo Framework for Action 2005 to 2015, which is very, very important because exactly at the time of Paris Agreement, it ended. But from there, along with Sustainable Development Goals, the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction started. So parallelly, two important things happened. One is on Sustainable Development Goals, another is on Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction. So here ultimately to bring down the losses, it was the main aim. And we know this since 1992 United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change is existing, and now we have Paris Agreement, and now COP27 is happening in Egypt. 27 meeting is also happening. But if you see, all the sustainable development goals would be impacted due to this climate change disaster. There nothing is free, and achieving common global commitment. This is important. So commitments. Then here, Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction. It is for all the countries and especially which are highly prone to disasters. Everything should be in place, and the governments need to adopt certain measures. And within climate change also, now uh, loss and damage is one factor which has come into discussion now in this COP27. Again, there will be more intensive work on this. Then sustainable development goals, we know because of corona and global recession and many other factors, I don't think these things are progressing well as of now. But there is a lot that need to be done. Then we have this Paris Agreement on Climate Change 2015 that is also very binding because most of the heads of nations have come together and limiting to 1.5 degrees centigrade global warming on an average is one important strategy. But there also we are failing, and within 6 7 years, average global temperature will be above 1.5. Our limit to 2 degrees they are saying, but by the end of this century, it will be 6 7 degrees increase on an average. So now things are not moving as intended. The United Nations Decade on Ecosystem Restoration began on World Environment Day on 6th June 2021. This is also critical. A new urban agenda was adopted by the United Nations on and all that. So there are so many parallel things are happening. Uh, Here again the 7 targets to achieve by 2030 that is under the Sendai Framework. One is substantially reduce. What are the things to reduce? Global disaster mortality, the number of deaths, the number of affected people that we have to reduce. Economic loss in relation to GDP, that is huge. So that's why people say if you spend upfront, we invest some, then at least you will save in the future. So that is also not happening in the context of climate change also. Damage to critical infrastructure and the services disruption. So here it comes our critical infrastructure. My presentation is focused on this now. Then here substantially increased number of countries with national and local disaster risk reduction strategy by 2020. Then international cooperation to developing countries. It should, because between developed countries, developing countries, very poor countries, or even small island nations, highly vulnerable countries due to climate change, and the countries which are already at loss and damage. So, like Madagascar, now you see there would be starvation deaths. So that's now happening already. Availability and access to early warning systems and PRR information. This is very critical. I think the number of sensors we could have afforded or placed to understand what is happening, even in the context of our own health, our own emissions, I think we are miserably failing. There is no management without monitoring. So this we have to improve and increase and then make everybody responsible. Then policies, actions for resilience and reinforce sustainable development goals. Here, especially some of the goals which are relevant are like SDG 1.5, that is the target. Resilience of the poor, this is very critical. Then resilience of agriculture, SDG 2.4, under 2 and 4 target. SDG 11.5, that is sustainable cities and communities, reduce disaster risk and affected people and urban resilience. Then climate change, the overall, the second goal is very, very important. Within that, resilience to climate change and disaster, 13.1 is key. And peace and justice, climate justice is the term we are using. Climate crisis, climate emergency. So whatever terms we use, I think things are not happening. Reduce all forms of violence. So in case of this disasters, violence, especially to the less privileged communities, or even gender-wise, many things would happen. So if you see the Paris Agreement and it provides a framework for financial, technical, and capacity building. All the three it provides a framework. Uh, Here again, proposed intervention which I have presented. So actually, in this particular situation, to improve the resilience of critical infrastructure, we need, otherwise also we need all the four things, like a tetrahedron, which is interlinked actually. And let us say facilitation. Here, advocacy and partnership is very critical among all the stakeholders, institutions, government, like that. Then we need to act now. This is what not happening. Thinking is happening, planning is happening. Now we have more science to tell what is going to happen, but we are not acting. So this is the thing which is lacking everywhere. And capacity development, technical support and capacity development is very critical. And let us say in PDM mechanism, there is technology transfer. And now we have many things which are in place which we could adopt. And research and knowledge management. This is very critical. Knowledge sharing is important, and knowledge, right knowledge, or synthesis, or even using the technology. So all these things need to happen, and there should be coordination among knowledge management institutions or knowledge creators. This is also very critical. Uh, Then governance and policy, our system governance, leadership, political will and change. See, this is what lacking globally now. The countries say, USA, there is more research happening on climate change, but the leadership denied climate denial change deniers were there. Even from media, I think at least now they should understand the importance now when you are already drowned and the global warming is visible and you are having losses, damages. Now at least we need to change. The political will should be there and we should strive for the change. Then integration of disaster and climate resilience concepts. This is also critical. Complaints and regulatory approaches for disaster resilient infrastructure is uh, required. Preparation of national critical infrastructure resilient action plans and budgetary allocations is also required. Then risk identification and estimation. Identification of natural hazards like hydrometeorological, geological data. Of course, geological is not directly relevant to climate change, but sometimes they get aggravated like multiple disasters. So, and design resilience plans also. National risk and resilience assessment across geographies. Here, tools, methods, historic data, like data poor countries are there, data poor regions are there, and reliability of data, monitoring and management of data, big data management, and scenarios using models. This also we have to create. See, many government policies are just few years only, short-sighted. 5 years because election to election, I will have my plans. No, we should have long-term vision for a country or region and understand the climate change models are existing. We have supercomputers, we have simulation, we have 3D models, we have so much information now. But those things need to be generated, and whether this government or that government or this leader or that leader, they have to respect the science. Then only things would happen. Otherwise, nothing would move. And this spatial temporal remote sensing, GIS images, the LIDAR survey, aerial photography, drones, high-tunes, other latest survey methods are available. Yes, we could use all these in case of any disaster, right from planning to preparedness to post-disaster and even adaptation and even mitigation also we can work. Then sensors are available. Even we have IP cameras, open source hardware and software, and internet is very cheap. So I think there are various ways and means. Even without human intervention, also we can get data even from the worst impacted area or most hazardous areas. Also we can get, and most reliable data we can get now because human people may not be so systematic in collecting data, but systems can collect. And standards and certification, this is very critical. See, already in every country we have certain laws, rules, regulations, and standards. And even professional certificate courses are there, such a billing we can do. And compliance of country-specific standards and codes like building codes and bridge codes, road laying road codes. Many standard codes are there, and also need to improve these codes and also understand the like standard frameworks and other things are global standards also we have to understand and then adopt and facilitating improvement in the country specific standards and specifications as per the scientific standard. This adoption can also happen if you think that this is disaster in spite of those standards will not help us, then you improve the standards for your own country specific. Assessment of the existing infrastructure for resilience to disasters. This is critical. The mapping, GIS, remote sensing, all this play important role. Knowledge transfer and processes for improving the standards and certification. This also cross-learning, exchanging information, knowledge. So all these things can happen. And one institution is there, actually, like Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, where I am also a technical expert and member. So here standards and certification sources which could ensure it could work on this and climate resilience of infrastructure worldwide. And insurance mechanisms based on certification for infrastructure. This is a very big thing actually, insurance, because ultimately in this scenario of disasters, insurance industry is one thing which who have become more alert. I think even for them to take proper decision or compensate this all these mechanisms, right from certification to standards to the monitoring system, all these are required. So capacity building. So here share scientifically accurate knowledge for building resilience of infrastructure systems. And this is very important and all institutions should work on this. And the capacity development for preparedness and post-disaster reconstruction and awareness and sensitization that is required, training required, exposure, institution building and organization is required, a community-based disaster management. Yes, we need to empower civil defense mechanism. Yes, we have to build that because society or even the common, everybody is responsible in case of disaster. It is not that somebody is going to come and do something. And networking and engagement is a continuous process. We have so many international bodies, organizations, and many communities working. So this is also required. Communications need to be improved in capacity building, and we have various mechanisms of communication. So online e-courses, MOOCs, so these are also helping a lot. Then webinars, meetings, seminars, conferences, conventions, all this one could join and get engaged. The knowledge management, publications, and knowledge sharing, generate knowledge products, evidence for policy making process, open data. So all these things are again essential. And in my innovation and emerging technology like big data, we have to use models, predictions, projections, and scenarios, including GCM, downscaling, and all that we can use. Then cloud computing, social networks for disaster prevention and response. Say in Chennai place, from the social media, one could get a sense of which area is highly infected. So this also we can use. Then machine learning, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, drones, robotics, GIS, GPS, advanced materials, and geoengineering. This is very critical even as part of climate change and Internet of Things. So like that, many things are available which you could use. Then recovery and reconstruction. This is very, very important after a disaster and rehabilitation of and the reconstruction of critical infrastructure for integrating disaster risk reduction measures into the restoration of physical infrastructure and social systems and build back better within infrastructure recovery and reconstruction. So mitigation, preparedness, response, recovery, reconstruction, prevention, like that. But there are so many actors within this framework, like disaster risk reduction actors, humanitarian actors, sustainable development actors. So all these are important. And finance, yes, this is very, very critical. Where we are lacking now, or even in most of the talks that happen, the discussion ends here. From where do we take? People are interested in short-term gains than long-term investment. I think here risk financing strategies are required, and we require lots of partnerships, co-financing models, legal agreements, public-private partnerships, and CSR frameworks, convergence with other projects or programs, bonds, anticipatory value enhancement. So like that, there are so many ways or mechanisms and means, even green bonds or even disaster-related bonds. Many things are coming up. The models are being tried out. But again, this is very critical. Implementing a comprehensive disaster risk financing framework. So, and government now loss and damage also one issue that came up now in the COP27. Again, uh, it is being considered. We have other institutions like Green Climate Fund and the, like that many funds are all over. But here again, the governments have a role to play. They have their taxation mechanisms and they have their reserve banks and other mechanisms. So national, state, and local budget allocations also required. And we have multilateral agencies globally like World Bank, ADB, European Union, etc. Many would support. As I said, the community-based approaches are very community energy infrastructure, then distributed systems, like energy mini grids can result in more personal resilience. See, when we have centralized grid system, let us say, so we'll have so much challenges after the disaster. So decentralized options would help communities, at least in some regions, in major disasters, but because at least some communities will be independent. So community, most of them, at the time of disaster, less people die, but after disaster, post-disaster, many people die because of the vectors or not having proper drinking water or without power, they have many other challenges, sanitation, many challenges will come. So similarly, water infrastructure, many times it is centralized nowadays, it has become fashionable that government is supplying water from centralized systems. So, but we should make community be adaptable even after a disaster, how to survive and how to find their own source of clean water, how to treat their water and use and all. So, community-based intelligence systems for response and recovery. So, these are also required. So, then critical infrastructure resilience strategies strengthen global tender framework implementation. This is important. Then policy advice and advocacy and issues related to critical infrastructure resilience to improve communication and global advocacy. Increased understanding and awareness of strategies, issues and trends and their impact on the operating environment of critical infrastructure, conferences, cross-sector interview, workshops, like that. Then prioritize specific measures for critical infrastructure resilience. Then implementation, operationalization and enforcement of legal and regulatory provisions, compliance and incentives, code, standard certifications and all that we have to bring in. Sharing guidance and implementation support plans for critical infrastructure resilience, improve decision making. Then respective national legislative and policy priorities for integration of critical infrastructure resilience into national, local and sectoral development planning and budgeting. And again, coordinate with respective stakeholders for effective preparedness and early warning and response, and build strengthen institutions for resilience, institution building and organization, strengthen organizational performance, designate CI resilience mandates, roles and responsibilities, engage individuals, organizations, public, private sector for CI resilience measures to ensure minimum disaster risk, monitor and review of CI resilience in the member countries, facilitate open knowledge management, create knowledge hub and infrastructure resilience sharing, share CA resilience information for effective decision making. See, I am a very big fan of this open knowledge. Yes, when it is meant for millions of people's welfare or life or livelihood, I think all those knowledge systems should be made open and some international organizations or government could compensate them who have generated such knowledge. So this is very important. Promote a broad stakeholder engagement, participation, and representation of groups from across society, including women, youth, and the impoverished and disabled. Nature-based solutions. This is very, very important. Even all UN, World Bank, or all international organizations, they're telling nature-based solutions is the best option, and ecosystem-based adaptation within that is also important. And environmental protection and strengthening ecosystems is very critical for our own existence. Of course, minimalist way of life, which I always promote, is also very, very important. If you have a minimalist way of life, there is less thing that you would lose in case of the disaster. Then facilitate appropriate financing, organize meetings with stakeholders and finance agencies, innovative finance investment mechanisms in both public and private sectors for CI resilience measures at all levels, redirection of current investment to minimize existing and potentially the CI risk is also we need to do. So this is my presentation regarding the critical infrastructure resilience from the climate change and disaster. Thank you very much. Yeah, we have Professor Deepak Patel.
Uh,
You could make the presentation.
Hi, sir. I was wondering if Dr. Karuna can go next.
Hello.
Just a second. So initially, I have not seen other speakers. So now, Professor Deepak Patel is there and Dr. Karuna. Between them, I request to share this space because we have 1 more hour, I think. So yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
So, Dr. Reddy, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. You are not visible.
Yeah. Am I visible?
No, no. Your camera is obstructed
Okay.
by something else.
Yeah.
You are
Is it
visible.
okay?
Yeah. There is Dr. Karna is also there. Between both of you, anybody with some urgency, they could start. Yeah.
Yeah, I have no problem. Suppose
If you can wait, that's fine. If Dr. Karna has some urgency, she speak.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Okay, continue.
I'm a pediatrician. If it is okay for others, sir, I would like to start my discussion. I was in an emergency with newborn.
Okay,
So
okay.
can I go ahead, sir?
Yeah, please, madam, please.
Yeah. Good evening, all. Actually, I'm a pediatrician. My main interest lies in treating pediatric cases, and I observed over years that there's a lot of scope for preventive healthcare among pediatrics. Like we all know about non-communicable diseases in adults, like hypertension, diabetes, can be controlled by a lot of there's a lot of preventive scope in those diseases. And for same pediatric also, we have if we change the quality of if we change the dietetic habits and the pollution and infectious disease also can be controlled in a aspect. This would definitely society in terms of financial life risk or mortality and also morbidity. So today the health cost is huge and government hospitals are overburdened. So they are not left with low socioeconomic status are not left with any other option except approaching private hospitals. So that is the reason healthcare burden has increased. And 2 years ago, there was an article that 55 million people below poverty line were further pushed. 55 million were pushed below poverty line due to healthcare expenses. So that is the reason I was always looking into where all we can have a scope of preventive healthcare among pediatrics. So this topic of climate change and health burden also stops also gives us the opportunity to talk about how to decrease the effect on health issues due to climate changes. As we all know, if I talk about infectious diseases, all these organisms are definitely bound to show their virulence based on environmental temperature. For example, malaria, Vibrio cholera. If there is environmental change by half a degree or even less than that, their survival can be increased and the breeding of mosquitoes increases. And recently we have seen our last 17 years, dengue, which was not there during my post-graduation. After that, we started seeing a lot of dengue cases due to urbanization, deforestation. And there's one more disease called scrub typhus, which happens because of deforestation due to bite of a mite. And so dengue has increased because of mosquito breeding sites have increased due to urbanization. Waterlogging has increased around the houses, and the spread of the virus through mosquitoes increases due to overcrowding and increased population. And this also has definite environmental change because we were observing that last every 4 years, we see that in 1 year, we have mild case numbers and less virulent strain. And in the other year, they may have high fevers and little low in platelets. The next year, they may have dengue shock syndromes and admissions into ICUs. The number of cases are hugely increased, and hospitals are overburdened because of dengue cases. These are recurrent epidemics, which is not yet addressed. So this is about virulence of organism and the breeding habits based on the environmental temperature. This is regarding infections, and this can lead to hospitalizations wherein healthcare system has to use lot of disposables or lot of regular IV cats or other aspects, gloves and all. The burden of this waste material increases over the environment. Naturally, this leads to again lot of pollution, and though there are a lot of techniques where they determine bio waste, they give a lot of training to staff regarding safe disposal, and all these are categorized into red, yellow, blue, black bins, and staff are trained to dispose them properly so that final disposal can happen in a less polluted, to create a less polluted environment. But still, looking into so much of private hospitals coming up, overburdened healthcare system, there is a lot of chance that environmental temperatures can increase because of all this waste burden. That is one aspect. And coming to health, seasonal disease, we call like dengue or any other flu or swine flu, parainfluenza. These are seasonal diseases due to low temperatures or warm temperatures or rainy season. Dengue mosquito breeds in a fresh water during, and we observe cases only during June to October or November. Cases taper by November, and later only sporadic cases are seen. This is because of rainy season. If the climate change occurs and there are the extremities of temperature, definitely you can see a huge variation in the disease burden in terms of timing and increase in burden or severity of illness. So not only the seasonal changes attributing to low temperatures and flu and high temperatures, they can cause heat waves. We have been hearing now and then in newspapers over last few years, 25 years, 50 years, there is no rain, not so much of rainfall. This was the highest, or temperatures were high. That was the highest recorded. This all is happening due to global warming, and extreme weathers can themselves cause disease among the population. So this is regarding infections, then virulence of the organism, then temperature changes causing disease burden, and pollution. Naturally, utility of more petroleum products increasing due to population or luxuries, and less of other modes of transport are being utilized. Pollution has definitely gone above levels like we are seeing nowadays in Delhi or Hyderabad. We are not projecting them as an alarm as on today to public. Unless we Google it, we are getting the exact data, how polluted is the environment during the season. We are getting, but we are not projecting them as alarms to the public or ourselves. So pollution can cause a lot of respiratory illnesses from upper airway to lower airway, like sinusitis, allergic rhinitis. Then that itself can cause daily headaches, discomfort in the evenings, and nasal block can cause sleeplessness and recurrent hospital visits. No exact solution unless we cut down on pollution or ask them to wear masks. There is no exact treatment for it. So they have to go through, or surgical procedures also advised sometimes for recurrent sinusitis, allergic sinusitis, as per doctors' advice they go. But this is causing the decreased quality of life, decreased work efficiency, and more work absenteeism. So this is also one cause for less productive output of the system. So simple upper airway illnesses and the asthma, recurrent wheezing, this can be life-threatening to children sometimes. If it is exaggerated, then definitely they can land up in ICUs. So nowadays we are counseling parents regarding the uh, effects of pollution, pesticides on the food products, or all outs, mosquito coils, sambrani, all these things can cause allergic tendencies to children, and pollution, and then wheezing, which where they have to get admitted sometimes in acute cases and get treated. This leads to cost again and stress in the family environment. And acute wheezing and landscape in ICU, recurrent asthma, severe asthma can cause a life-threatening behavior. So this is one major cause for us with pollution. And definitely during COVID, we had less OP, less URI, less wheezing, no wheezing, I can say, no admissions in ICUs or wards because children were at home. This we observed for 2 seasons in COVID. And the other thing is physical work is nowadays less. I mean, transport system has increased. Public transport also has become very less utilized by those who are affordable. So, single person driving a car without carpooling, all this can lead to luxury, and this can lead to sometimes less physical exertion, can lead to obesity. Childhood obesity has increased a lot. So we should encourage them probably by having daily physical activity in terms of using less vehicular transport, where carbon can be released less. Indirectly, we can advise them. This is less physical activity leads to obesity and other diseases among children. Also, we are seeing more nowadays. Not only physical health, mental health. When your environment has changed, immediate environment is changing, when you are exposed to so many diseases, either to air or food or pollution, food or infections, your regular life schedule is disturbed, your healthcare burden is increased, your morbidity is increased, mortality risk is increased. This causes huge stress to the family. So the mental health of the child, because of loss of schooling, loss of a peer group, company, all this indirectly affect the child. So, and also family stress. Mental health is also at stake in lot of situations. And malnutrition, especially below poverty line, when the environmental change is there, unseasonal rains or crops are not harvested on time, or crops are lost, that is the indirect way of decreased food production. But also the poverty can also lead to lot of malnutrition. Ill health can lead to malnutrition. The quality of life for especially below 5 children is very I mean, very much affected. So malnutrition is the other extreme of obesity, and we are very much concerned because of loss of money due to health expenses or due to other causes, loss of job due to health. They all can indirectly lead to poverty and malnutrition among under 5 children. So this is the initial view of how climate can change the health scenario. And also I talked about mental health, physical and mental health diseases, malnutrition, obesity. And my work was on preventive healthcare more in terms of dengue fever. When I personally observed that there is a seasonal environment, I was always asking the authorities to look into environmental causes of changes in breeding pattern. And we have to map the place from there where these mosquitoes, Aedes mosquitoes, are causing the dengue fever and control it at early. So a lot of things, localities from where the disease pattern is coming, all this can affect us. Climate can indirectly affect this pattern of diseases also. And finally, I would like to suggest, as a doctor or as a citizen, basically, I'm hearing about global warming or climate change over years. But as on today, I know very few things like to control the plastic usage, control the carbon producing petroleum, to reduce the global warming and indirectly climate change, and also seeing control your AC's utilization so that the indirect climate effect will not be affected. So these few things I know, but as a citizen, what are my basic duties? I'm not getting any alerts in daily life, or being a in profession, or there is no plan of action reaching every individual in the society. Like government has released one aspect that we have dry waste bin and wet waste bin. Where is it implemented properly? Very few societies are implementing that. Being an educated professionals in my society, I am not seeing. Once you can't dispose your dry waste and wet waste properly, I'll not able to reach the goal of stopping climate change drastically. When I compare it to the population, if I don't know, I know it, but practically it is not happening in my place. So policy making has to be very strict. We are talking about plastic ban. If one or two people stick to that, but there should be a policy change in irrespective of their personal gains in this business. There should be a policy change. So this is from government, we expect a lot to change. These are simple policy changes which may not include financial investment. It is the only notifications or alerts to be given in a more practical way. Like pulse polio, I told it's very difficult to eradicate, control COVID or dengue because of human behavior. We are not ready to accept putting a mask properly in spite of our own family getting affected if we don't follow the precautions, and our own neighbors and relatives being affected. I'll go to functions with cough, cold, and fever. So I'm not restricting. My colleagues may be affected. That is only discipline, self-discipline, or behavioral change. So before I change my behavior or self-disciplined, the policy making should come. Compulsory mask, they said. Compulsory waterlogging removal should be there to avoid dengue mosquito breeding. Singapore says that. So helmet, put on the helmet. These are all human behavior related uh, uh, imposition of fine. So to bring about this drastic change in human behavior, there should be proper guidelines to a citizen or a educated group, uneducated group, institutions, hospitals, regarding global warming, how they can control it in their own way depending on their day-to-day lifestyle. So I would definitely request this team, whoever is working towards it, to uh, to aim at an individual change. You need an proper guidelines and alert system and definite policy makers involvement. If an individual can change, then he should be taken as a volunteer and involve the family members, relatives, friends, to educate them. Then the community should be educated, then the society. So it is coming from higher side, from policymakers, and from ground level individual volunteers who can take up this issue. At least they should be given alerts to influence others by practical aspects. Schools are conducting a lot of programs for children on climate change, art exhibitions, all that. But children are exposed to so much of tinned food or packet food. Are we telling them to change their uh, acceptance of eating these tinned foods and all? How practically we are telling, but we are not showing them a practical way of implementing. So schools, education department can make wonders in changing these things. If we come forward and put pressure, then definitely these chips or biscuits will be sold in a environmental friendly packets. Though we may not stop drastically people eating these fast foods or tinned foods, we may put pressure on them if we can get through policymakers or schools. This is my suggestion, what I understand from whole thing. Thank you for so much for patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. Your perspective as a practitioner has brought in so much understanding about climate change and its impact, and ultimately our living in this new changed conditions, and how it would impact overall our life and livelihood, including the health. Thank you, madam. So now we have another expert speaker.
Thank you
Mr.
so much.
Thank you, madam. We have Mr. Tejas Patel from Tharu Leading Edge. I request him to speak.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Tejas.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah. A few words. Tejas was my colleague earlier. Thorough Leading Edge is working a lot on disasters, especially if there is an organization which has worked very intensely all over India, that is Thorough. And Tejasvi is one of the senior most persons working there, an expert on all aspects. I request him to share his examples from the implementation of projects which are relevant to climate change and disaster. Thank you, Tejasvi.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for introduction. I will put to my screen. Is it visible, sir?
Are you sharing any screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is started. Yeah,
It's visible, sir.
yeah, it is.
Okay, so I will now show our demonstration projects in climate and disaster, which can help people, communities, society to cope with from climate-related stress. So this is one of the best example under the leadership of Dr. Sai Baskaredi we have implemented in Surat. This for climate and health excellence center for Surat. In this, we have prepared a small sensor and dashboard which collects the real-time data analysis, which can help the city department to predict the disease outbreaks. And based on the numbers and distribution of cases across the city, enables the city stakeholders or city administrators to prompt action to prevent further spreading. This is the broad objective of that study, and the better visualization of integration of government program that can be implemented with another sector also. One of the most critical thing in this program was the early warning about the vector and waterborne diseases trends. The right side you can see the dashboard prepared under this project, and this is how we can launch the project. It's a school children as earth leader for environment monitoring. Main objective is to educate children on environment monitoring. Because sometimes what you can see, you are telling children to how this much temperature is going to be rise, or which you will have some problem related to temperature. But when he doesn't monitor or measure, he cannot really get a sense of that increase or decrease in temperature. So we make them aware and give them training on different type of sensor, how to use that sensor and monitor the CO2, PM 2.5 and 10, PM 10. It's also monitor the temperature and relative humidity. And this is the some of the photographs of the activities which we have organized in various schools. So we have one of the most important thing is that we have also trained the deaf and dumb school children, which they cannot able to communicate with each other, but we have somehow managed to train them to make the sensor and to get the sense of that temperature, humidity, PM 2.5, PM 10, and then we can organize a small what you can say awareness campaign. How this dust particle or how the temperature rise can affect their health. So whatever mask they have put up on the in the table, they should bring back and use regularly while they are going to school, because that mask can definitely prevent them from PM 2.5 and PM 10. So that was one of the example for from our works. The second one we have done for various public building in Odisha state. And the major objective is to identify structural and non-structural vulnerabilities in the infrastructure, like sub-center, PHC, and CST facilities with respect to climate change. We have identified the gaps and the preparedness of the health system to withstand the impact of climate-related disaster, so that can provide them uninterrupted essential health services to the most disadvantaged children and women. Then we have developed a dashboard which can give on-click information of that infrastructure vulnerability with respect to climate change. And we have also provided them short-term, medium-term, and long-term recommendation how to improve the health system and their preparedness to provide uninterrupted health services with respect to climate-related disasters specifically. One of the another example is cool roof and passive ventilation that we have demonstrated for improving indoor thermal comfort and reduce energy demand for low income households. We have identified a set of options for reducing heat input from walls and walls. We have prepared demonstration sites and retrofit these techniques with variety of use of offices, houses, and commercial buildings. This is the demonstration site what we have created with the 8 or 10 what you can say examples that can reduce your temperature indoor and outdoor, mostly indoor temperature based on various techniques from 5 degree to 2 degree. That's we have measured using various gadgets that thermal gadgets are there that can give our hourly reading for the indoor temperature, which we are collecting on dashboards, and that dashboard give us the information at what location there is what is the outdoor temperature and what is the indoor temperature, what we have implemented on that house roof. We have given a set of awareness and training capacity building programs and awareness services. We have dissemination of this method and technology among to the public and decision makers is one of our key outputs of these projects. We have made various training videos for the same. So this is the one of the full roof application which cost 170 rupees per square feet using haloclay tiles. This is the one of the option for making your indoor temperature quite what you can say 2 to 5 degree lesser than outdoor temperature. This is one another application using lime concrete. It costs you 120 rupees per square feet. Various methods are there. We have prepared a demonstration book also for the same that can detail information how to use what is the step 1, step 2, step 3, what is the material needed, where do you get from your local vendors. That all we have mentioned in the book we have prepared. One another option is the innovative the cost you 160 rupees per square feet. What is the process is also mentioned in the website and brochure what we have published. This is the heat resistance tiles which cost you 150 rupees square feet, which also give you a quite full temperature in the indoor. This is one another option is the full roof paint and the low cost option which costs you 25 rupees per square feet. This is one another option. It costs you 94 rupees per square feet. That's a bamboo shading. What are options we have choose here? We have gone for low income household to medium income household and then higher category household. So all these options have multiple cost structure from 25 rupees to 180 rupees to 50 rupees. This is one other option for green mat shading. This is one another option for EPF sheet, which costs you around 160 rupees per square feet. This is the cellular fiber option, which costs you 156 rupees per square feet. This is one another option. Using China mosaic, you can pull down your indoor temperature from 3 degree to 4 degree. This is thermofit option, cost you 170 rupees per square feet, and it gives you 4 to 5 degree temperature variation in indoor area. So this is one another example for strengthening school preparedness for tsunami with respect to climate increasing climate scenarios. So we have prepared a school level disaster management plan for Visakhapatnam city and Kalingapatnam's area. This in this we have trained the students on various aspects such as first aid, evacuation, alert mechanism. We have planned for we have prepared a disaster management plan also with respect to stakeholders and local agencies. We have sensitized them on tsunami mock drill, conducted tabletop exercises for 4 to 5 schools we have organized, and mock drill also and in the selected school as per guidelines of UNDP and NDMA. This is done for Srikakulam district in now. One other interesting project is the strengthening climate resilience of Kolkata city. In this project, we have installed more than 450 air quality sensors across the city, which gives you the information on air quality, which is at PM 2.5, PM 10, temperature, humidity, rainfall, and water depth monitoring. What we have done, we have installed this sensor on the street pole across the municipal area, equally distributed in wards or beats, what you can say. This we have installed on the street pole, and that sensors give you the depth of water, or you can say height of the water, how much water is accumulated in the specific street. So when the water accumulation start, it's suppose you can say it's around 6 inches of water or 3 inches of the water, automatic alert will be given to the disaster management section in the KMC area. So there is a mechanism also which can give the alert to the city stakeholders on city officials to act on time. So real-time information give them this benefit that whatever depth is there, they can get information on dashboard or in a report, or you can say if any alert which can trigger on the based on depth. So that also we have put in the website. Also, some water accumulation has been started, and the alert will be automatically given to the city officials, which is responsible for the water logging. So we have monitored the data for Hooghly catchment, Hooghly, what is the rainfall in Hooghly catchment, what is the discharge in river, and what is the level within the Hooghly estuaries, and what is the rainfall in different areas of the city. So one sensor in the city will not make much usable, rather than sensors giving low accurate data. What you can say, it's accuracy 5% plus or minus accurate data, but high density. You need the sensor which can give low accuracy but high density area, in high density area. So that can be the good result when you analyze the data, or what you can predict the data from that result. So this is the dashboard created for the Kolkata city. You can see the sensors and temperature, the humidity and dust parameters from the same. Once the water logging is there, then water logging data will be displayed on this dashboard. This is a street level report which can be generated from the website. This is one of the good example of peri-urban lake restoration. This is for ensuring the availability of local water resourcing during emergencies for the city. So what we have done a various lake study in the city, from which catchment area the water is flowing to that lake, and what is the quality of lake, or what is the depth of the lake, or what is the water balance model for the lake. And based on that, we have prepared some demonstration models. We have also installed some artificial islands, which gives a good science on for local community to prepare and maintain their lakes. We have made policies on urban water body, and that we have also been succeeded to get some fund from to alert some funds from municipal corporation for lake conservation in that budgetary allocation. So the municipal corporation has allocated a specific budget for lakes restoration. This is one of the project what we have done in Surat. This is for installation and customize a real-time vector and waterborne diseases and surveillance system. What the currently government system runs, they are using the P form and S forms, which once a surveyor goes to the specific slum and fill the form, and then come back to office and upload the information in the system, and then goes to that passes through the government machineries, and when the decision maker can see the information, the already 4 to 5 days has been gone. So in this system, we have developed a tag-based information collection system. When the surveyor goes to slum, fill the form and put on the enter. At that time, the pop-up will display on the dashboard that in this area, X number of cases is coming. So decision maker can quickly make the decision within 1 or 2 days for intervention. So that the developer response mechanism can very much be useful in the city of Indore. We have also worked for a preparation of hydrometeorological resilience action plan for Panjim, Porbandar, Mangalore, Ratnagiri, and Gnanagar region. This is an ongoing project. In this, we are looking for climate resilient meteorological and disasters which can impact city, and how to prepare city more resilient from that hydrometeorological disasters. We have also prepared a city resilience strategy for Indore, Surat, and currently we are working on a city resilience strategy for Ahmedabad. And week before, we have assigned a UNDP's climate action plan for Jammu and Srinagar. So that's all from my thank you.
Thank you, Tejasvi. And now I request Professor Deepak Patelji to start his talk. Professor Deepak Patelji
Yeah.
is a member of CDRA, is teaching at Surat from civil engineering. He has done PhD at IIT Delhi, and have known him recently as a technical expert member of CDRA. Yeah, he's very passionate, and I request him to speak. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Reddy.
Just one word, Professor Deepak Patel. Maybe
Yeah.
around 2:56, 2:56 we will stop. I could have given time, but I think there is another session coming up, like agrochemicals, which will overlap. Sorry for that.
Okay. So can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Till I say stop, you can continue. No. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So So how much time may I have?
Till 3:58, something like that.
Okay, 3:58. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, can you see my presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, good evening, and thank you for inviting me to deliver these small talks and to interact with you. So, in fact, it was some miscommunication, so I could not join at the 2 p.m. So I am extremely sorry and regret for the same. But anyway, I am going to talk on what is the climate disaster. Especially, I'm interested to talk on resiliency. Which are the factors and indicators should be considered to measure the resiliency? Because when we understand their indicators and how to measure the resiliency, then we can clearly understand which are the lessons we should learn and how we can go forward. So to manage our disasters due to this having the unexpected climate change. So let us start. Is it okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So here I will start with some background of the sustainability because many students and many people have the confusions about the difference between the sustainability and resilience or resilience infrastructures. So just I will give some brief overview about its difference, and then I will explain what is the resilience, because again there is a what you can say domain wise, and there is a different understanding about the resiliency. And suppose you go for the any medical side, so their resilience is different terms. When you talks about the infrastructure resiliency, they have the different terms. But here, through the literature review and what is exactly how to quantify the resiliency, that is our main requirements today. So that I am going to talk. So I think it will give the more concepts on the resiliency. And then I will compare the sustainability and resiliency. So there will be the clear-cut understanding and difference. What is the difference between the sustainability and resiliency? So here I can decide the course, means this lecture's outcomes, that you will understand what is the sustainability, what is the resiliency, and how to measure the resiliency, which indicators or factors should be the considered while you are talking about the resiliency. And based on that, we will keep the discussion, okay, which are the lessons we should go, we should learn, and we can implement in our next in the course of the actions and the implementations plan. So here you might know the sustainability developments. We have been talking about a lot, and it's meaning the needs of the presents. So we need some natural resources, especially the fuel, energy, etc. But here we have to take the care for the next generations. Suppose there is some limited all these resources, especially the crude oils and some minerals, for example, limes, waters. So that should be have the limited, and due to this adverse climate change, they're highly affected, because sometimes in some places we do not have the sufficient quantity of waters also. And so here we have to take the capability of the future generations without compromising. Okay, that we have to take care for the next generations, and that way we have to use. So that is the main theme of the sustainable development. Then we will further discuss what is the difference between the sustainability and resilience later on. Here you can see these words is come to the in the practices after this what you can say Earth Summit. It was held in the Rio de Janeiro, and it again discussed in the climate Kyoto carbon emissions in that conventions in 1997, and in 2002 in Johannesburg summit in South Africa. It's about the poverty reductions. So after in this century, when it starts, so generally the sustainability, it's come to in the practices, and many practitioners and policymakers, they have started to emphasize on the sustainability. So here there is a different level of the sustainability, and their aspects will be the cover. Here you can see this Buccini et al. They have defined the sustainability in the four levels. That you can see in the first level, they have given the general definitions about the intra-generation fairness. What we have talked, we have to take the care, the uses of and the requirements of the next generations. These are three pillars: that economic, ecologies, and the society. So we have to take all the parts of the society and that economics. So you know that main principle of the economics, that everyone should have the same opportunity to utilize their resources. So here in some segment of the society, suppose they are rich, and it doesn't mean they have the only right to use the particular type of the resources. So here that should be the well balance in these three pillars, and it is the main theme of the sustainability. So at the project management level also, you may start to think about, okay, which are the resources nowadays in this, like how we can make the more sustainable buildings, or how our city should be there. So that level we are now thinking, especially in our constructions and built environments. And here also we have to take to conserve the waters and protect the species, environments, noise emissions, and renewable energies and others. So that all these small things also we have to take the considerations when we talk about the sustainability. So this is the brief evolutions of the timelines, how these different developments was occurs in the different events, at the different events or the conventions or the conference that you can. So we are not much interested, but later on you may refer them. Here you can see about what you can say India. So they have presented, they developed and presented some green rating system. So that purpose is that you can evaluate all the what you can say green rating activities, whether and what is their quantifications, what is the level of their greenness in the particular activity. So government has put in the practices by the sustainable constructions, and they have promoted this GRIHA. And later on, LEED and 3, here you can say the LEED was formulated in 1998 by the USA. And GRIHA is in the practice, IGBC and GRIHA, these two frameworks to measure the sustainability of the buildings are in the practices in the India. And here eco-housing, but here mostly the IGBC and GRIHA and LEEDs. Three ratings methods are very popular in India. So they are taking the care of sustainable constructions and its measures. Now here it is very important things about the resiliency. So nowadays you can see it's maybe the climate change or the infrastructures, and most of the policy, even our sustainable goals, what is decided by the United Nations. So they are talking about the resiliency of the systems and the resilience infrastructures. So that term is floated in almost all the domains. And suppose we can talk about the resilience economics, then resilience infrastructure. Already I have talked with you. And recently, you can say due to high impacts of this negative consistency of the COVID-19. So what is the resiliency of the economics? So many economics of the various countries, they were highly affected across the world. And at that time, some economics also use these words about the economic resiliency. So here, let us understand the resiliency in the context of the infrastructures, because due to the climate change, unexpected rainfall occurs in some places, unexpected flood may come up in the rivers, and it may affect the various infrastructure networks, like it may be the road networks, then our storm networks, water or sewage collection systems, bridges, and so similar kind of the many infrastructures are affected, especially in the urban area. So here let us see the resilience is the ability of human communities to withstand the external shock or perturbations to their infrastructures and to recover from the such perturbations. Perturbations means any difficulty, yeah, when you lose your normal performance. So that is called the perturbations. You know that COVID-19, I think it's more than 4 weeks and 5 weeks, there was highly restrictions for any economic activity. And that was the perturbations. And later on, you can see that gradually the markets are opened and the economics and other activities have been started. So that means that humans and the societies come out from that perturbations. So here, let us talks about the various aspects of the resiliency. So first aspects are these TOSE, they are called. So technical aspects, organization, social and economics. So in the technical aspects include like the constructions and technology, which are the technologies are involved in the particular constructions of the infrastructures. So that is called the technical aspect. So when we talk about the resiliency, okay, after any shock or any disaster, which are the technicality in their particular infrastructures. So that how you measure, that is called the what you will say technical indicators. So we have to see, okay, what technology or technical matter is involved in the particular type of the infrastructures. Then organizations, it's deal with the management plans, maintenance, and the response to emergency. So how you are taking the care of your infrastructures. Suppose it may be the pipeline projects, a water distribution pipes, so continuous repair and maintenance is required. And suppose any emergency occurs, so how's your civic society or societies behave in the emergency? That part should be the considered in the resilience. Yeah, it affects the resilience. And in this line, the socials also, society and mitigation. So something is happen, any disaster, there's an important role of the society. Let me tell you that I think Tejas Patel has talks about the resiliency of the Surat city. So there was a high flood occurred in the 2006, and you know that it was the 2/3 city area that was submerged due to the waters. And Surat is the one of the city who contributes lots in the GDP of the country. So government has focused to come out their consistency, what occurs due to that disasters. And in that disaster, there was a lot of contributions from the society and industry nearby the Surat. And that is also the good contributions in the resiliency. Then economic address the direct or indirect cost associated with the reductions of the functionality of the infrastructure and its rehabilitations, because when any infrastructure is affected, so lot of cost is associated with the infrastructure. So what is that quantum? So that should be the considered in the resiliency. So here these are the 4 dimensions of the resiliency. These are called TOSA, technical, organization, social and economics. Let us move to the what is the results of the resiliency. If suppose anything is occurred, then what is the consequence? So here what is the level of the consequences? Suppose any disaster is occurred, what is its intensity? Now how it's affect the social economic activities. Okay, sometimes you know that in the COVID-19, so generally the inflation is the increases. Okay, and many children have lost their parents also. So there may be some unbalance, some so these are the highly affected. So what is the consequences? So our resiliency should attempt, okay, when we talk about the resiliency, so that should be the minimizations in the consequence. Then faster recovery. So anything is occur, okay, then we have to come out from their problems or the difficulty, and we have to achieve our normal functioning as early as possible. So that aspect should be considered in the resiliency. Let us say generally, you know that when the first monsoon is come, first rain is come in the monsoon seasons. So most of the urban area is highly affected, and it's become the news in the top lines of any newspaper. For example, in the Mumbai, okay, in the first monsoon you can see. So every time and first rainfall when occurs, then every time there is any news. Okay, these are the traffic, huge traffic. There was a high level of the waters and flood, etc. So here it should be the first. So you can say it's maybe the influence for day, half day, or second day also some trends. So we have to come out from the as early as possible. That should be the fast recovery. So can we reduce instead of the 1 day, we can reduce up to the 12 hours? Can we reduce up to the 3 hours? So how we are coming back in the how we can recover? So that is called the fast recovery. More reliability. Reliability means the quality. We have to construct the everything with the sorry. Excuse me. Okay, are you with me?
Yeah. Continue.
I hope I am not fast. Okay, because I
Fine.
have to. Is it okay? The speed is speed of
Yeah,
delivery?
fine. You have
So
about 8 minutes to close.
yeah. I'm going. I will be able to complete it.
Okay.
So this is the aspect of the resiliency. What and for resourcefulness, redundancies, repetitive that we will talk and Robert. So here resourcefulness, it means we have the sufficient resources. It may be for the whatever we need. Okay, suppose we need to expand the road, we have to construct any requirements supporting infrastructure, etc. That should be there. Suppose in the any disaster is occurs, then we have the sufficient equipments, machinery, tools. So these are all the things are the resourcefulness. So that planning is very important. Redundancy means what you can say extras. What you can something is extra. Okay, so that you have the degree of the freedoms. Okay, so that may be the another way. Suppose you have the one road, but there may be the another parallel road, yes, some another route. So suppose anything is occurred, so you may use that as another road, yeah, another infrastructure. So you should not depend only the one, what you can say, source of anything. Suppose water, so that should be the network such way that so one pipeline is obstructed, yeah, cut down, yeah, it is the hampered. So you have to ensure that the flow of the waters should be the continuous from the other source also. So that is called the redundancy. Repetitive already the speed with a what we can say, you have to come up the intensity, yeah, speed of how you are coming back to your functionality level. That is called the rapidity. Robustness means you have the what you have constructed the infrastructures. They should be very sound, and even though small any intensity of any disaster, it should not affect the what you can say performance of the any infrastructures. It's like a immunity system of the any human. Okay, suppose you have the strong immunity system, so you can say some viral, yeah, some bacteria cannot affect, and that is in the same line. The robustness of the infrastructure is also very important. So here, when you talks about this resiliency, so these 11 aspects should be the cover. That should be the considered. 4 are dimensions of the resiliency. 3 are the resilience. Results of the resiliency, and which are the property of the resiliency. So when you prepare any strategy or resiliency plan, especially for the infrastructure I'm talking, so these 11 aspects should be the considered. Here it is very interesting what you can say what you can say diagram is here, that you can see this is, let us say 100%. You just focus on that where my cursor is moving. Okay, so this is x-axis is the time, and this is my functionality. Functionality means it is the how the infrastructure is functioning. Let us we take the example of any bridges. Okay, so there is a, let us say one causeway bridge is there, and it connects the two sides which are of the two banks. What is the city? And generally you can say river is passing across the city. So that that way we can consider it is the bridge. And so what is the function? So many persons are traveling. What is the traffic flow across that river by using this particular bridge? And suppose something is happened, let us say one flood is coming and it's very high flood. And so, of course, due to having the flood and considering its conditions, their functionality is lower down. So here you can see, just you follow the my cursors. After something is disaster is occurred here, so its functionality is reduced. And let us say it's reached up to the 25%. So 100% is normal. And due to having the disaster, any disaster, it's come down, it's fall down up to the 25%. That means its performance is the decrease significantly. Now what can we do? Suppose that infrastructure have the strong robustness or soundness, yeah, let us say have the good specifications, yeah, configurations. So sometimes it may not be affected. Yeah, it may be affected up to the 75%. But here, let us say whatever that they have the less robustness, and it may its performance level is what you can say reduce up to the 25%. So that's why you can see these portions. This line is 1 minus robustness, and this is the robustness. So still, this infrastructure has a 25% the functionality. Now, what will be happen when time is passes? So the intensity of the disaster may be the reduce. You are taking the some precautions. Let us say you may check the waters through the dam. Okay, yeah, you may divert it the water somewhere else. Yeah, whatsoever. Okay, yeah, you may take the some other precautions. You may open the another bridge. Yeah, you may divert the traffic, and gradually you can see the flood conditions is lower down, and again its functionality is increased, and it may reach here again up to the 100%. So that is called the resiliency of the bridge. But here, these factors is time. How much time is take that you can focus on this x-axis. So it may be reach up to here also in this time also, in this time also. So that time should be the less, and that you can achieve through the rapidity. So this is the approximately recovery path. Generally, I have assumed here it is a linear, but it's the non-linear. But is the, and when you say it is a 1 minus robustness and rapidity, so that will be the reduce. So here, this what you can see the color, it is called the resilience triangle. Actually, what's your resilience strategy? You have to decide what should be there, and you should try to minimize this color. Okay, minimizing this color, yeah, this area, resilience triangle, that means you are adding more resilience to the infrastructures. Means you are increasing the robustness, you are taking the care of the debris. So what we have discussed, the 11 aspects, this would be the cover here. So here, let me take, I think 2-3 minutes are left. So what is the difference between sustainability and resiliency? So here, sustainability, sustainable developments is talks about the needs of the present without the compromising the ability of future generations. When here, resilience is the ability of human communities to withstand the external shocks to their infrastructure and to recover from that shocks. That shocks maybe you may consider as a disaster also. So how we come back in the normal position. So that you can see here. So the sustainability talks about the what you can say next generations and limitations of the use of limitations of the resources and minimizations use of the resources. So there is no any significant matching in the sustainability and resiliency about these definitions. Here in the literature, you may find the some keyword. Some keywords are matching. Okay, so that's why it is called the good matching, and that's why the readers are sometimes confused. This is the target, like the for the sustainability reductions of the impacts, less resource consumptions, etc. And here robustness, what we have discussed, the high different aspects of the resiliency, that should be the covers. Then here dimensions, you may consider the economic, ecological, social aspect, efficiency, and consistency in the sustainability. And resiliency, already we have talked about the redundancy, resourcefulness, and TOS, that factors, they are coming under the resiliencies. Then measuring levels, here different rating systems are there, and they are measures sustainability in the platinum, gold, silver certified, and others parameters also. That's 1 leaf, 2 leaves, 3 leaves, etc. And here this resiliency, there may be the quantify and qualitative. There is also challenge how to quantify the resiliency, but many researchers have attempted to quantify this resiliency in line of this sustainability green rating system, green rating systems.
Deepak
Then
ji,
here-
it might go suddenly off soon.
Okay, so just I am reaching that.
Yeah. No issue.
So here, this is the decision supports, and so when we construct the new sustainable constructs, at that time we have to take the sustainability, and suppose you have to simulate it. Suppose any disaster is occurred, then resilience come to the into the pictures. Okay, so this is all about the difference between sustainability and resiliency. Suppose you need these presentations, then I can send to Dr. Reddy, so they may make available it to you. Okay, so you may read it, and suppose you have any further questions for the query, so you may contact me through my email ID.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll get back to you. Actually, this is the conference. So we have several sessions. So
Yeah.
our next session is on agrochemicals and climate change related.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor Deepak Patel ji. I thought initially I would give you more time. You would start, but initially there was no other speaker, so I started my talk.
Okay.
Still,
I hope I could justify and give the.
Yeah. It was excellent presentation. Thank
Yeah.
you very much for your time and talk. Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
it's my pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.